Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of English Fluent Smartly. I'm Neil, and today, we're diving into a unique way to build your English vocabulary.
And I'm Johanna. Today's episode is all about learning vocabulary through current news headlines. News headlines often use rich, precise language to grab readers' attention, so they're a great tool for picking up new words and understanding advanced sentence structures.
Absolutely. By breaking down real-world headlines, we can understand not just the meaning of words, but also how they're used in a practical context. We'll explain some complex vocabulary, give examples, and discuss sentence structure, so by the end, you'll have fresh phrases and insight for your English conversations.
Let's get started. We've picked a few recent headlines that covered different topics. For each one, we'll break down advanced vocabulary and analyze the structure. Ready?
Ready. Let's dive in.
Okay, here's our first headline. Tech giants to slash thousands of jobs amid economic downturn. This headline is from the Business News, and it's discussing some tough times in the economy.
So, let's break down a few key words here. First, the word giant. When we talk about giants in the business world, we're referring to really big and powerful companies. Here, tech giants means large, influential technology companies like Apple, Google, and Microsoft.
Yes, and the word slash here is a more intense way of saying reduce or cut back. When used in this way, it means a large, sudden reduction. In this case, they're cutting a lot of jobs.
The word amid is also interesting. It means in the middle of or surrounded by. It's commonly used in news headlines to describe the context in which something is happening. So in this headline, they're saying the job cuts are happening during an economic downturn or a period when the economy is struggling.
Right, and the sentence structure here is very concise. Notice there's no extra information, like the OA headlines often. Cut out small words to save space. This is called Headline English, and it's a structure you'll see often in newspapers.
Exactly. So if we rephrase this for everyday conversation, it might sound like, big tech companies are planning to reduce thousands of jobs due to the poor economy. This way, we add back in the words that were left out to make it sound more natural.
Good. On to our next headline.
Next, let's look at a health-related headline. Breakthrough in cancer research sparks hope for new treatment. This one's really interesting because it has some specific, positive language.
Yes, starting with breakthrough. A breakthrough is a sudden, important discovery or development. In the context of science, it usually refers to a discovery that opens up new possibilities, something big and game-changing.
And sparks here means causes or triggers. It gives an idea of something happening quickly, like a spark lighting a fire. In this case, it's sparking hope. So it's causing people to feel hopeful or optimistic.
Exactly. This headline also doesn't use unnecessary words. It's very efficient, so you can see how English can be concise and still express a lot. Instead of a breakthrough in the field of cancer research, it simply says breakthrough in cancer research.
To rephrase it for everyday language, we could say, a new discovery in cancer research is giving people hope for a new treatment. It's less dramatic, but adds back those extra words.
Perfect. Let's move on to our third headline.
Our third headline is environmental. Global climate conference aims to tackle emissions crisis. This headline talks about international efforts to address climate issues.
Right. So let's look at the vocabulary here. First, aims to. To aim to means to have a goal or objective. It's like saying the conference is focused on or trying to achieve something.
Then we have the word tackle. It's a powerful word often used in news to mean address or confront. When you tackle a problem, you're working hard to solve it, like tackling an opponent in sports.
And finally, emissions crisis. Emissions are pollutants released into the air, often from industries, cars and power plants. And here, calling it a crisis suggests that it's a serious problem.
So, if we break down the structure, this headline is stating a fact concisely. To say this in a more conversational way, we could say, the Global Climate Conference is trying to address the problem of emissions.
Headlines use powerful verbs like aims and tackle to make the language impactful. This gives readers a sense of urgency and purpose.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move to our last headline. Our fourth headline is from the finance section. Stock market plummets as investors brace for interest rate hikes. This one is pretty intense.
Yes, starting with the verb plummets, which means to fall suddenly and steeply. It's a very strong word and usually indicates a large drop.
Then we have brace for, which is a phrase that means to prepare for something, usually something difficult or unpleasant. When investors brace for something, they're getting ready for what might be a rough time.
Finally, interest rate hikes. Here, hike means an increase. When we hear about interest rate hikes, it means banks or central banks are raising the cost of borrowing money.
And structure-wise, it's another example of headline English straight to the point without extra words. For conversational English, we could say, the stock market is dropping fast as investors prepare for rising interest rates.
Yes, and this example shows how economic news often uses strong, urgent words to communicate serious changes in the market. Here's an interesting one. Scientists unveil new evidence linking diet to mental health. This headline is related to health and science.
Right. Let's start with unveil. To unveil means to reveal or make something known for the first time, taking the cover off something. In this context, scientists are presenting new information.
Then we have evidence, which is information or facts that help prove something. In this case, it's new findings that support a link between diet and mental health.
And linking here means creating a connection between two things. So this headline is saying there's a connection between what we eat and our mental well-being.
For conversational English, we could rephrase it as, scientists have revealed new findings that show a connection between diet and mental health. It sounds a little more natural with the added words.
Yes, and it's a great example of how science headlines use precise language to convey complex ideas quickly.
And our last headline, global wildlife populations decline drastically, warn conservationists. This one has an environmental focus.
Let's break it down. First, the word decline. Here, declines to decrease or reduce. And it's paired with the word drastically, which means in a very significant or severe way.
Next, we have conservationists. These are people who work to protect the environment, animals and natural resources. So, they're warning us that wildlife populations are falling.
And in terms of structure, this is a clear, straightforward headline that uses powerful words like decline and warn to catch attention.
For everyday conversation, we could say, environmentalists are warning that global animal populations are decreasing rapidly. Adding the words back makes it more conversational.
Exactly. Headlines like this are intended to be urgent and direct, to emphasize the seriousness of the issue.
So, there you have it, 6 headlines full of advanced vocabulary and powerful language. Each one teaches us about word choice, sentence structure, and the unique style of headline English.
Thank you for joining us. By practicing with news headlines, you'll improve your vocabulary and get comfortable with real-world English. Keep reading, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Goodbye for now and happy learning.